Mission Control, it's TheRealMartian again. All right, this time we're going to be talking about the microgreen specific lanes. And in my mind, what I call that is lane 1 and lane 2 retrofit and build. So let's do a little background. When we started this project, it was not with the intent to do microgreens. Our mission at the Raymond Ranch and G11 project that we're working on is to provide sustainable food and energy to local communities around the world. That's why we have the digester and solar to provide energy, and then we're trying to figure out how to grow everything inside so that it can go to all different types of environments throughout the world to help people in need. Or people like yourself that just want to live off the grid or grow your own food locally just because you want to. So as we started, we decided to go big so that I have lots of space to work and I don't have to spend all my time trying to miniaturize everything, which can be very expensive for what we're trying to do. We've basically found out in this experience that the stuff that we need to buy just doesn't exist at our cost point or at our size. A good example is like the pumps that we would need for the digester to actually work the way we really want it to. They build them. They cost like $15,000 and they pump like 2,700 gallons per minute, which is absolute overkill for what we need. But they're meant for big dairy farms that have digesters. We're kind of finding that same thing out with the lights and everything else is you don't really, you have the low level, do it in your garage type of stuff or in your home. And you have the really big level, $1 million farms, but you really don't have this in-between spot. And that's where we want to play in. So there's going to be some customization that we're going to have to do. So with these grow lanes, or with microgreens, we needed a way to raise money to help do the research so that we can build the stuff and hopefully be able to sell those things one day to you guys out there who would like to buy it and do something similar, only a lot cleaner and more efficient than what we've done so far. Kind of rambling here. Let me get back to the point. The point was that we needed a way to make money to help pay for our research. So we came up with microgreens. But the building wasn't designed for microgreens. But we needed to make the money. So this is kind of, we had hoped to get grants, we had hoped to get investors. Those things aren't panning out, but we're not giving up because we believe this is what God wants us to be doing. It's a noble mission, it's the right mission. So we just need to figure out how to do it. Anyway, so we got microgreens and we put them into lane 2. And we went through the flood and drain system and all that, and that's great for aquaponics, but it doesn't work totally awesome for microgreens. It's not really what microgreens are all about. So what we want to do is rebuild lane 1, or rebuild lane 2, redesign it, and build lane 1 to the same type of specs. So let's go out there, show you kind of what I'm talking about.
As I've mentioned a few times, lane 2, the lanes in this building were not built, they were not designed for microgreens. We've been doing the flood and drain system here in lane 2 with the microgreens. These are peas, they've overgrown, we're kind of experimenting to see what happens. And this is not an efficient use of space for microgreens. Microgreens don't need these big 12-inch deep beds, but aquaponics do. We could stack microgreens in here at almost 4-inch intervals, which means we can get a lot of microgreens into this area, and that's what we want to do. We want to pack this thing full of microgreens. I mean dense. So there'd be a layer of microgreens every 4 inches essentially. So this entire lane is 12 feet tall. There's about 16 inches to the orange bar, another 12 inches up, so the remainder is all available for space to grow with. So the current idea that I'm kicking around is essentially inspired by our Ferris wheel. So we would have to build some custom shelving, and the parts that I think we could use are garage door runners. The metal, they're like a U bracket like this that the wheels go in, and then they rotate through so you have a runner and the wheels follow the runner. And we would put those on the inside. So you'd have a runner, it would come down and then rotate over, go back up, rotate at the top. So you'd use the garage door runners. You'd have to have some fairly hefty piping going across here, maybe even a square aluminum tube. and connected to a roller runner so that you can have some more stability there, or maybe an I-beam tube. So you have, there's going to be deflection. This is a 12-foot run, by the way, for those that want to do the math. 12 feet minus, it looks like, I'll have to get a measuring tape if you're interested and give you exact dimensions. But each one of these looks to be about 2.5 inches, so that's 5 inches that you have to subtract from that. You'd have your bar going through here, and at this point right here is your maximum deflection at your midpoint, and we don't want deflection. So my current idea is to have a cable that runs up in this area connected to each of the crossbars with a nut washer system on the top and bottom so that it holds it up and they all hold tension together. That's my current thinking there. When I first thought of this idea, the next thing was, how do I rotate it? So the current thought process is, at this side right here, there would be, at the very top, an AC driven motor that has high torque but extremely low speed. And then going across the top will be a light bar. We'll be getting rid of these, and we'll have a light bar that goes across the top, so the microgreens in the winter need light. In the summer, they don't need light. These lights are all turned off right now for summertime microgreens. They don't need them. The building provides enough light as it is. But in the winter, that'll change. So we'll need a light bar going across the top that will then rotate the microgreens through. And we'll also have our watering system, which if you followed along, you know this is my experiment. We won't do a moving watering system. We'll do a fixed PVC watering tube that goes all the way down with misters on it at the right pressure. That'll be part of our pumping solution that we'll have to redo. So let's step back a little bit here and kind of go back over it. You're going to have a rotating lane, or rotating shelving unit. That shelving unit will rotate underneath a light bar and the watering spray. The spray will be coming from the aquaponics system. This bed is going to stay, and we'll put microgreens in it as well, just like they are right now. So they won't be fully optimized, but they'll be good enough for what we need. The only thing I'm worried about, in the wintertime, these probably won't get enough light, but in the summer, they'll probably be fine. So we'll see how that works. All right, so rotating. We got the garage door runners. So I could go buy those, and I'll probably have to cut them to custom fit. The tubes, I know I could buy, like onlinemetals.com or any of that. It's just a matter of what type of bar should I use. Should I use an I-beam, a square aluminum tube, a round aluminum tube? Which one would be best for deflection and then best for connecting? I'm pretty sure you're going to have to connect it in the midpoint here. And then the AC motor at the top. Okay, so let me shift perspectives so you can see this. I think you're just going to get the very top of my head here, but I want you to see the top. So at the top there, we'd mount an AC motor. Again, low torque, or high torque, low speed. We don't even need that much torque, and here's the reason why. This is the cool part about this solution. If you make a requirement on the operator that says you have to load these shelves, it'd be like wire shelving going across here. I think that's the only thing I forgot to mention so far. You have this wire shelving unit. If you have these wire shelves and you're setting your trays on it, you're essentially going to have to set one tray on this side and then go on the other side and put another tray of equal weight over there. And as long as this thing is mostly balanced, then you don't need a big motor to move it, because you're actually not going to be lifting up all the weight by itself. The reason for that is everything that you lift on this side, as long as it's equally balanced, there's something falling on this side. That's equilibrium. So then the only thing that we need a motor for is to actually move horizontally the 44 inches that are up there. So you're essentially just going against the friction of the wheels in the tracks with a little bit of weight that you have to get up to get the equilibrium point to shift. So you're not going to need a huge amount of torque, and therefore you're not going to need a huge amount of electricity. So I really like that idea. And if we put a VFD on that, I think it would be even better. We could slow it down, or we could use gears, but slowing it down would be best. So electricians, I'm really looking to you to help tell me what we could do here. Then there'll be a centralized shaft running the entire length here. So let's get a better shot of that. So there's where the motor would be. We would need a shaft running all the way down, and not a single shaft, because that would be crazy expensive to buy. but 5 12-foot long shafts, and then we'll have to couple them when we want to move it to the next lane. So you will have a couple there that you'll need to have on that shaft. And then I'm thinking on the shaft itself. The shaft is essentially your drive shaft, like on your car. And then we need to have gears coming off of it so that we can engage or disengage each of the beds individually. So what do I mean by that? Let's say lane 1 or bed 1, which is right here, let's say it got some form of funky fungus and we wanted to shut it all down to clean it all and rip it apart. Well, we don't want to turn off bed 2, bed 3, bed 4, and bed 5 just because one of the beds is funky. So you're going to want some engage-disengage switch, which I think is a manual lever, and that just moves a gear up into position to where you have the central drive shaft, and then you have gears rotating at each of the locations, probably one at each side of the rotating Ferris wheel, and you engage that gear to start the rotation for just that bed. And if you wanted to stop it, you disengage it. So that's if the bed goes funky. You can also use that as an operator for the wintertime operations. If we enclose this entire thing, you have to access everything. Let me go over there. You have to access everything in this grow lane from this side. You can't be over there because that would be enclosed. So that means you need to have your lever here so that you can engage it, rotate it, take something off, rotate it all the way around, take something off so you maintain balance. So we're going to want that gear engagement device to really make this thing work correctly. Okay, so from the top, Ferris wheel rotation with wire shelves on a main bar holding those wire shelves, and then basically garage door runners and garage door wheels connected to the end of those bars. And then we put a requirement on the operator that the system has to be balanced. So if you take a tray off this side, you have to take a tray off the other side, or put ballast in, like a weight, just temporarily holder. And we'll probably also want a safety switch that engages as a lock so the system can't rotate at all, just in case something goes wrong or you need time to be able to create your balance. So that's the idea I have right now for the microgreen shelves. I got to start designing this thing. I got to start buying parts. I got parts ordered to put the bottom shelf. That's the orange, the white, the main structure here for lane 1 and the pond liners, getting that on the way. We're also going to be drilling holes this year for the pilings in lane 1, so it's not sitting on the ground like lane 2 and lane 3 are. So that's it for the microgreen lanes.